All right, let's go. How
Hello.
are we doing tonight? It is time for the Old Moon Podcast. Once again, baby. Episode 2. Episode 2, new and improved. New and improved. I'm joined here. I'm Blue Squad, and I'm joined here with my co-host, J Kun VG. J Kun, say hi for us.
Hi. Hi.
Yeah, he had a little technical difficulties trying to get his VTube model onto our screens, but that's okay. We got his emoji on there. And then we have Tiltus here. Tiltus, go ahead and say hi to everybody for me.
Hello. How's it going, everybody?
All right.
I'm back and shaved this time. I joined Blue.
That's right, baby. Back and ready for it. Okay. Are you boys ready? Because I'm going to be hitting you with some fucking bangers tonight. I'm absolutely going to be hitting you with some bangers tonight. We have a lot to talk about. We have the dev note, of course, came out this week, and we've had a lot of announcements with regards to gear, PvE, grind zones, controversial things like that. We're going to be talking about them all tonight. But how I want to lead all of this stuff off is, firstly, we want to talk about PvE progression. Okay, PvE design over the years. Okay, so we're gonna start off. We're gonna think all the way back. We're not gonna go back to chimeras and stuff because that's a little unfair, and most people aren't gonna remember that. But there's a lot of people that will remember Sausins and Pirates. Now, what was Pearl Abyss doing right when it started making PvE grind zones? What did we remember that was good about Sausins and Pirates, and what did we not so much like? We'll start off with J-Kun.
Sausins and Pirates. Like, to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I wasn't playing during that time. Actually,
Oh my gosh!
I started playing in 2018 when LAN came out, and so that was like most people were like at Gahas, Desert Nagas, and so I didn't really have that pirate experience. I heard about it though. I heard about all the the pirate and the catfish and abandoned monastery before we got that new endgame stuff. I wish I could have experienced it, but maybe this question would be better answered by Tiltus.
All right, Tiltus, do you remember Sausins and Pirates? Please tell me I'm not the only one here. Okay, all right.
You know what's funny about those two spots specifically, which I feel is a little lacking now that you don't see it as much, was the amount of players that you would run into at these spots because they were some of the best grind spots in the game. I feel like you always were running into people pretty much. And that's one thing I don't see as often now with the higher end spots. And I think that's probably somewhat of what made us remember those spots so fondly, is because you have massive PvP, massive GVGs that just break out around Sausins.
Herman Nurple, thanks for that
So
reprime.
that's how I remember. I just remember
so
always
much,
ending up doing PvP over there. It was constant.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're absolutely right, but I think that was partly because there were only 2 actual grind spots in the whole freaking game. Right? Like, so, like, everyone is bottlenecked onto Sausins and Pirates. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot more of everyone there, and it was miserable. The funny thing was that I remember at Sausins, I mean, people nowadays complain that they don't have enough maids to transfer all their weight and stuff. I'm like, motherfuckers, I literally grew up in a day and age where the homies would roll up with wagons to their grind spot, bro. Like, it just wasn't gonna be a multi-hour grind session until you rolled up with a merchant wagon at Sausins. You know what I mean? Or they had multiple different boats at Pirates that they would store all of their coins and stuff on. It was both miserable and amazing. It was both miserable and amazing. So, like, I remember the good and the bad. The good, like you said, yeah, there was a lot more PvP back then, but there was also a lot less actual grinding going on. I remember grinding for 20 hours in a weekend to go from 57 to 58 at Elric Shrine, because I had the gear for Sausins, but just because you had the gear for Sausins didn't mean you could do Sausins. Didn't mean anything, right? Because all of the best players were all there.
Most of my like 56, 57, and 58 was done at Mains and Helm's Post.
Oh my gosh. No, mains I couldn't stand, bro. The mob density there just was not high enough for me. I just couldn't do it. But yeah, weight was like a serious issue back then with these grind spots.
Silver had weight.
Oh my god.
So half your inventory was just silver.
I haven't played
Wasn't there
Bethesda
3 trash
now.
items at Sausage?
Yes,
Like 3
yes.
different trash.
There were 3 different trash items, which is why people brought wagons to the freaking grind spot, because you actually just couldn't carry all the weight on your horse, right? I think it was kind of manipulative of them. It was super manipulative of them to do that early on, because, like, you know, it's basically you're forcing players to buy weight. You're forcing players to buy inventory slots, because there was also a ton that had to go in your inventories as well. Like, there was just we think that we have a lot of random shit now. Oh my god, everything. And you had to know what each individual item was. It was a nightmare. But because there were only 2 grind spots in the game, everyone was funneled onto that. So yes, there was more interaction there. But you have this first introduced concept, which I'm trying to get at, where they introduced PvE as all it really is you're just one-shotting mobs and moving to the next pack. Right? At this stage of the game, you're just one-shotting stuff, moving to the next pack. At Sawson's, you'd literally one-shot a bunch of stuff, and then you'd have 4 other people. I'm not joking. This was party grinding. This was party grinding, okay? You would have one guy that had a ton of gear. Usually it was an awakening caster, right? And you'd have 4 other people that I'm going to call pack mules, okay? And they would just walk behind them with all of their pets and just sweep up all the loot behind them, because back then you could only have 4 pets out at a time. And they just didn't
really
yes
4 what?
Yes, I know.
Wow.
And they never gave pets away. They never gave weight away. They didn't give inventory away. Like, it was unheard of. It was crazy. So now let's pivot over a little bit. So we remember Sawsons, we remember Pirates. Jacob, did you start the game with the Valencia? Were the Valencia grind spots good when you started?
Yeah, Valencia was there. I was mostly at Nagas and Gahas until I was like 61 or 62.
Okay.
And then I started doing like mansion stuff. I heard people back then party grinded Akhman and Histria. Is this true?
Yeah, way back when it first came out, they didn't actually know though what we were supposed to do with Akhman and Histria. We weren't entirely certain that the artifacts were necessarily in the game. People memed on Akhman and History because they were like end game grind spot, like it was a joke. But eventually the Valencia grind spots did get buffed. But like in terms of overall concepts that we see while we're grinding, what did we see introduced with Valencia? The only real concept that we saw, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, was that we saw this, okay, you gotta go find a portal in the desert if you want to go to Akhman and Histria, or you gotta go way out. It basically just gave us options for the same type of grind that we had before. Did you guys like, now Jake and I can ask you, did you like the Valencia grind spots where you're going around one-shotting mobs? What do you fondly remember? What do you not so fondly remember?
Well, I can definitely remember still one-shotting like Gahas and Desert Nagas. But, you know, as I started getting more AP, I actually went to like Akhman around 220 AP, and it started being a lot more, you know, tanky and a lot more fun. I was an Awakening Witch, right? That was my main. And Awakening Witch did really, really well at Akhman, but not so much at Histria because there was no like down attacks and whatnot. But that was actually the times when you would like weave in and out of pre-awakening and awakening to sort of min-max DPS,
and it was good.
I loved that time. I loved that time. It felt like I was actually playing my class instead of just pressing voltaic and then moving and walking because you didn't have legs as an awakening witch. You had to put away your weapon. By the way, that was the best way to get from point A to point B as an awakening witch. You put away your weapon, which was
I mean,
well, I feel like you still put away your weapon today. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I mean, you bring up an excellent point. Back then, because we only had one concept for a grind spot, right? We had exactly one concept. It was one-shot mobs, run to the next pack, right? We didn't have anything. The party grinding was not really a thing. Like, you could bring... So, my definition of party grinding at this point was I would bring my best friend Note to Crescents with me, and we would go around in a circle because there was too much loot. You couldn't pick it all up. There was too much loot. So like you could bring 2 people with you and both of you could make a good amount of money. So we duo grinded Crescents with each other, and then we duo grinded Gahas with each other. I spent a lot of time at Desert Fogans. I didn't really like Desert Nagas very much because everyone was at Desert Naga. Oh my goodness.
I was a Fogan enjoyer. I loved Desert Fogans. That's where I did my like 59 to 60 and 61 grind was at Fogans. Loved that place. The reason I loved it was because you could go red, and at the time, you could use the Trina axe bug where you would run faster in the
Judge
jail with
Jackson,
your
thanks for
Trina
that 8
axe
months,
out.
buddy.
So
Thank
you
you
could
so much.
run
Welcome
through the
back,
jail
man.
super fast, and then you would respawn. And if you're red, you'd respawn at Moy Quinn, which is literally right over the hill from Fogan's. So you would just climb over the hill from Moy Quinn, jump back down into Fogan's, and continue PvPing. I could get out of the jail in like 3 minutes and be back. It was so fun.
Yes, being a red player was a thing. Okay, so you obviously you tried the red playerness. I tried it too. Jacob, you don't sound like much of a red player. Have you ever tried being a red player? I don't take that offensively.
I've been to jail before, but just to experience it, but not like intentionally.
I've got the map memorized in the back of my head. I still know exactly how to get through.
You know how to get out.
Oh yeah.
Many times. I remember the first time I went red. It's one of my more fond memories of video. I was like, okay, how do I go red most efficiently? I was a Dark Knight. I had 241 AP, which back then was like you had the biggest.
That's a lot.
Like, that was a lot of AP, right? I had my maneuver on. I was ready to go. And so I remember going to Sawson's, and I felt like Anakin in the throne room. I walked in, and they were like, I'm grinding here, and I was like, no, you're not. And they were like, well, he can't kill all of us. And then I activated my lightsaber and I killed all of the new players that were grinding at Sausage. And immediately negative a million karma. And I remember running around as a red player in the desert. Felt so much fun. It was a concept that I think they captured really well with like Moy Quinn. And conceptually, like I used to run across the desert and see players just beating the crap out of each other on some dunes. You know what I mean?
Just randomly. Always see the notification this player has been sent to jail.
Oh my gosh, it was constant.
I loved that.
It was constant. Yeah, I know. It was a justice boner for sure. Like I absolutely loved the concept of a red player. I didn't do it for very long because it became clear that the developers over time they don't like red players anymore. Like they're not a fan anymore. And I understand why. Yeah, I understand why. So that's a conversation for another time. However, in Valencia, so it's clear that the player base wanted party grind spots at the time that the Valencia expansion became like the place to grind, right? Like, but we just didn't have it yet. So the developers tried something new with Kama Sylvia. So now we're going to look over at Kama, where we see for the very first time, we see two concepts introduced together. We see party grinding introduced with the Kama Sylvia expansion. And we see this concept where you can just stand basically in one place and a totem or something is going to spawn mobs for you. So like, what are your guys? Did you like trees at the time? Like, did you really like trees? What about guys?
I love trees. I spent like a year at trees, to be honest. That's how I got to like 63, 64. But it was actually really good money. Really good money, 3-man party grind spot, and it was pretty chill for the most part, unless you stood in a red circle and then you got one shot.
Right.
But I would remember just spending hours like watching just like series on sharing Discord screens to watch TV series with my friends, just 3-manning. It was a good time, made good money, and made a lot of XP as well. So I really liked what he did with Miramok. I didn't do too much Gyfin grinding though. Upper Gyfin. I wasn't geared enough for it, unfortunately. But I heard
that was in the same boat. I just remember Gyfin being the place that all the siege drama would happen, and that was what I looked for every week.
I was gonna tell you.
I'd be sitting there grinding Miramok, trying to get the money to get my upgrades and everything. And then I just would always remember just seeing these huge GVGs break out, these huge gangs happen at Gyfins from siege guilds. That was when siege was really cutthroat.
It was wild back then. It was the Wild West. We're probably gonna have a whole podcast where we honestly talk about the whole history of siege. But
old war stories.
During the Kama Sylvia, I had just hit like the okay, I'm considered geared technically at this point. And so I was able to do Gyfins with the big siege groups. And the funny thing was I wasn't in a siege guild.
I just had my 3-month a few days ago.
I wasn't in a siege guild at the time. So like these big GVG, I'm just like, are we still grinding? And everyone's just getting slaughtered around each other and stuff. This is the time when Man Up was still a thing at this point. So you have clips being shared on Reddit about like Vertex players crouched in bushes, like sneaking up on Man Up, and then they would just one-shot swats of the guild. Like, it was really cool. But like, as far as the grind zones themselves, it was really cool to actually have grind zones that we had party grinding. The first time, that was so cool to me. I didn't really like trees very much, but I really did like Gyfins. Trees was great because I did get to grind with other people, but at that time I didn't really enjoy it a crazy amount. But like that's comma. It literally took us all the way until comma before we actually got some grind spots that were different than I'm gonna one-shot a pack of mobs and then I'm gonna move on and I'm gonna one-shot the next pack of mobs. This opened up, honestly, like in terms of overall meta PvE wise. I know Jakun touched on it earlier. Awakening Witch really suffered with the early on in BDO. It's because her pack-to-pack mobility is just not there. So like up until a place like Miramok, it doesn't surprise me, Jacob, that you liked Miramok so much. Up until,
walk wide.
yeah, I know. Like you could just put down Red Orb and you're like, oh my god, they just spawn, and it's awesome. So like there's no more pack to pack. So this was awesome. Now we move forward to Shuriken. All right, we move forward to Drigan. Okay, Drigan. I feel like overall we took a step back with Drigan. But
100%.
like so there was no party grinding introduced in Drigan. We got Tashira Ruins, right, which is where dreams go to die. You got Blood Wolves, which at the time was just not good at all, and is also where dreams go to die. And then you had Shuriken Necropolis, which is the dark place. Simba, we don't go there. But the one I want to touch on, I mean, they're very different from today's spots. Today they drop the potion pieces. That's what everyone knows them for. But back then they were just imagine those spots, but without the potions pieces. And I know everyone's response would be like, well, why would you grind there? And we're like, same. Like that's exactly what it was like. Why the hell would I do it? Like, this is stupid.
It's different, you know?
Right. But like the spot I want to touch on is Shuriken Necropolis. Have you guys done day and night Shuriken Necropolis? Have you guys ever tried the nighttime?
I have actually got my potion piece from nighttime Shurikens. Not
nice.
Intentionally, like I didn't go to nighttime intentionally. It's just I was grinding daytime and it just turned nighttime. I was like, oh, I'll hit a few nighttime mobs, and then it dropped, and I was like, whoa.
Okay, all right. Literally the only person on the whole server that got anything relevant from nighttime Shuriken. What a joke! What the hell? That's ridiculous. Yeah, Tiltus, what about you?
I never did nighttime Necropolis. No, it wasn't for me.
Proud of you. It's okay. Save yourself, buddy.
Yeah, I went there once, and I think I hit one mob, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Left. That was the extent of it.
Okay, so what about it did you not like?
Didn't you have to invest energy to get the mobs to spawn at the beginning?
You did, yeah.
Yep,
You still do.
Yeah, you still do, because that's a fun mechanic. That's a super fun mechanic for sure. We like that. But what about daytime? Did you try daytime Necropolis?
I've done daytime enough. It's fine. It's whatever. The pack density is a little weird because they're kind of spread out, but besides that, it was fine. It was whatever. It just seemed like another spot. Dragon to me was a step in between the Kama solo spots and the Valencia solo spots. They just made them. They're like, here you go. Here's some more solo spots of one-shotting mobs. Good luck.
It really did feel like a low-effort expansion at the time. One of the biggest things I want to look at is Shuriken. Okay, so let's talk about the problems with daytime Shuriken first. Daytime Shuriken, I actually think the mob density is like okay there. I think the biggest problem with daytime Shuriken is that the mobs constantly CC you. I still have nightmares of Fedric. Like I actually just can't, bro. I will always be burned. I'm gonna be on my deathbed telling my grandkids, "Don't go there." Like Fedric literally drove me nuts. He was like the warrior one, and he would just constantly block everything that you did. It was so frustrating. And then you got to nighttime, and like we touched on, you had to use energy, right? You had to use energy to spawn the mobs, which is stupid because energy is a resource. Even back in Drigan, was kind of a super big deal. Nowadays, kids these days take energy for granted, but back then energy was super useful for gathering and things like this. Like you needed energy. You honestly, some people gathered on every single ult just to utilize all of their energy because there wasn't enough energy in the game yet to really get all the life skilling in that you absolutely needed.
I can remember sitting my alts down in the beds and letting them recharge while I was watching YouTube. Because they would recharge faster in the beds. So I was like, I'm gonna AFK for like an hour. I'm swap all my alts real quick.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, screw that. I never got that sweaty. I was like, I'll just go.
It was during a what's his name? Patrigo event, the night merchant guy.
Yes.
It was like 25 energy to roll with him, and I needed Urgons, and the game would not give me Urgons, and so I was just sitting there spamming energy trying to get Urgons. Never got them, by the way.
Now, there's a name I haven't heard in a very long time. Patrigio and Patrigio and event in the same sentence. No kidding.
Oh yeah.
No
That was
kidding.
a long time
like,
ago.
It's like the developers have forgotten that the night, like the night vendor is actually a thing.
Yeah,
like
he
if you
doesn't
say
exist.
night vendor
What are you
to a new
talking
player,
about?
they're like,
There's people definitely that are watching that have no idea who that NPC is.
Yeah. So
Never rolled that.
All right, well, fill them in so that they know.
Oh God. Okay, so the way back in the day, before the central market existed the way it existed now, you would have to put these massive pre-orders up for whatever item that you wanted, and it would just come to whoever had the highest pre-order. So I remember I bought my first base dandy for 700 mil, because that was the pre-order that I had to spend to get my dandy.
Holy
So
crap.
there was an option that you had in the game where you could go to Patrigo and you could invest your energy into him, and he would roll on this loot table, and all the boss items were on there, all the boss armor was on there. You had hards and sharps. I think some accessories were on there too, and you would just sit there and you would roll, and it would cost you 50 energy every time you rolled, and you would roll, and his cost on items could be 100 mil for a dandy, or it could be 1.1 bill for a dandy. So you would just sit there with all the money you had in the world, and you just sit there and roll. And they did an event where they cut it down to 25 energy to roll on him. And man, I just sat there and rolled, because I needed Ergons. I could not get Ergons. I had Muskins, and I played DK at the time, so I was like, I need DR. I need to get Tet Ergons. I just sat there and rolled for like a week straight. It was horrible.
I mean, like back then, again, it was like, so 50, it could be 50% of the price, or it could be 400% of the price. And you were rolling for one specific item, so you would roll. And I just want to keep in mind, guys, remember, energy used to be like worth something back then. Spending 50 energy a roll was like cutting your balls off. To roll for these boss items.
I want to go that far.
I think most people at the time had like 350 energy, because that was like the hard cap with energy at the time.
Hard cap, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and you had way less like character spaces. Yeah, like way less character spaces.
Oh yeah.
Also, the best part about the Night Vendor was that all of your silver was like. Keep in mind, we didn't have the Magnus yet. We couldn't just universally move at the central warehouse. Did not exist. So like, if you saw something that you really wanted, but you're like, oh crap, my money's in Valencia, you could lock the item, and you had 30 minutes. Count it, 30 minutes before that item disappeared, and you had to haul asset on your tier 6 drift instant excel 1993 Toyota Corolla in 4th fucking gear all the way to fucking Valencia in time to try to get your item. Like, oh my god, bro. Bro, the Night Vendor. Okay, that's a bit of a tangent, but man, I remember the Night Vendor. That was crazy. Okay, cool. So back on subject, though. Back on subject. The Dragon expansion, I think we can all accept, it's basically a step backwards. They did try like this pillar grinding, but it's the very first time we see the developers attempt this kind of boss style PvE, which we're gonna come back to with the Land of Morning Light when we get there. We saw them attempt the party grind spots, right? And that we thought that those were really successful their first attempt through. The Gyphins and Miramok were really good their first time through. Going through and one-shotting mobs, really successful every time you did it. You almost just never got tired of it until you did. But like, this is the first time we really saw them fail at like a PvE attempt. Was this boss style mechanic where you had to use energy and you were gated? It's really frustrating, and not very many players use it. An interesting thought, but kind of a flop overall. Now we're going to look forward to Odalita and the Mountain of Eternal Winter. We're going to kind of tackle them a little bit together, because we see a big evolution in Odalita. Let's handle Odie first. Let's tackle as its own animal. This is a massive upgrade in PvE. Jakun, what was your favorite part of the upgrade for PvE for Odie?
Olin's Valley. That's Olin's Valley. 3-man. It was like the one that was so. It was so different. It was nothing that I've ever experienced before. It felt like a dungeon boss, to be honest. Just the mechanics of Olin's Valley, where I thought it was such a interesting and rewarding experience. To like, he drops the arm down. If you fail to kill the arm, you don't get any loot, right? So you benefit from doing all these mechanics, and just like, if you didn't know, Olin's was actually never changed mechanically since being released in 2020, and people are still finding ways to optimize the grind spot to this day, and people have reached like 5.5k trash. Back then, I don't want to say like I pioneered Olin's or anything, but I was one of the first people to grind Olin's, And back then, 700 trash per hour was the
Wild.
number to go.
Wicked, baby. The number to beat.
By the way,
Nowadays, you're like, how did we only get? I'm never grinding with you people ever again. If you got 700 trash nowadays.
So funny.
but yeah, the other one was like Turos, right? Turos was another.
Turos,
Turos was a little
yes.
frustrating. Because the freaking the leash range was so bad.
Oh
They would
my
just
God.
like run back all the time, and it definitely was a different experience in terms of like 2-man grind spots. A new experience. Also, the mobs look amazing. Whoever designed the mobs, they were great, and the grind for the flame. I thought that was a good touch for not relying on RNG most part.
First time.
Of course, you can get lucky and
Mhm.
just get the flame out right, but you had this mechanic and function to grind out 100 embers to get the flame that you needed, and I thought that was an interesting way to do a grind spot. And it keeps it relevant as well for a long time. So I think that's
people are still
really
grinding
important.
Turos for
Yeah.
their,
Oh,
for
yeah.
their-
Oh god, it's amazing.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's really good.
And like if you compare it to Dregan, other than like before the pots, there was nothing to keep it relevant. But I think Odalita will continue to be relevant even past future expansions, just because of the design of the spot. I think it was a great expansion.
Yep.
So
Right. Tiltus?
I don't have a ton of experience with Odalita actually.
That's okay. I've got this one then. You're good.
Yeah, at the
You're
time,
good.
I had dropped out of BDO for the Odalita expansion.
Right
so
on.
I didn't come back until Mountain of Eternal Winter.
Which is another animal entirely. So one thing I want to touch on for Odie, the reason we thought that this expansion was so exceptional, is that for the very first time we have this concept. So the developers return to this party grinding that we keep asking for, that we keep requesting so much. We're like, we want more spots like trees. We want more spots like Gyphins, but good, because at this time Gyphins was terrible.
Gyphins, yeah.
Gyphins had declined into terribleness. But this is the very first time in the game's history that we actually see grind mechanics introduced to a grind spot. As J-Kun had just touched on, before, again, it was just kill the mob until it's dead. You know, like just hit it, just DPS it till it's dead. This is the very first time they tried anything that like mechanically might be difficult or that you might have to play around in PvE. I think they were afraid to do it before, but it was so well received.
I don't think that's entirely true, because Star's End came out with the crystals before Odalita.
But
And that was the optimal way to do Star's
Again,
End, was to always drag
but
the
it was-
mobs to the crystal.
but hit the mobs until they're dead. It really wasn't
Yeah,
as
I
much
mean,
of a
yeah, you're
mechanic
right,
as it
but I
was
think
just-
they were already kind of dabbling in what can we do to change grinding, because when Star's End came out, it was like for like a couple of days nobody knew that you got to drag the mobs to the crystals and pull up the crystals, and that's how you knock them all down.
Yeah, it's just like that kind of a basic mechanic where you walk up and it's just okay. All right, I'm just gonna kill. I'm just gonna hit them till they die.
I'm not
versus-
disagreeing that it
Yeah,
wasn't
no, but,
a huge
I mean, you're right.
step
That
up. I
does
was just saying,
technically
I think they
count as a
dabbled with the
mechanic,
idea.
albeit a bad one.
Yeah.
So like until this time though, this is the first time we've seen good party mechanics introduced into the game that we really enjoyed, and more party grind spots. Now Olin's at the time was basically unreachable for the vast majority of the server, with the exception of J-Kun apparently and 2 friends. Like I remember I couldn't touch it, and then they released Crypt of Resting Thoughts, which at the time was like, you what? Like there's no one could touch that place. I mean, I was friends with Hope of April at the time, who had hard capped gear at the time, and he couldn't even get Crypt done at the time. So like there just wasn't enough stats yet in the game, but like that was an interesting concept. We have Thornwood introduced, where it's as like a solo grind spot. You have like the Dark Knight spawning, and all of them kind of rush in, and you have these grind events starting. Like they start favoring these grind events more and more, and these mechanics more and more. And basically every single grind spot in Odalita is just a slam dunk. Like it's just a massive slam dunk for us, and we see a bunch of new concepts introduced. Now let's pivot over to Mountain of Eternal Winter. What new stuff did we see in Mountain of Eternal Winter that we liked so much? Tiltus, you didn't get to talk on Odie so much, so what'd you see in Mountain of Eternal Winter that you liked so much?
I didn't grind in Mountain of Eternal Winter. I just played the game.
Oh, the guy just does it.
Look,
The
I am
guy
a
just does the
PvPer through and
grind,
through.
bro.
All right.
All right, J-Kun, what did you
Blue's
see?
gonna lose
Hi.
it. Blue's
Hi.
gonna lose it.
J-Kun, what'd you see in Mountain of Eternal Winter?
Jade Starlight Forest was actually really the only spot that felt like a good grind spot. I personally thought Arethia's Limbo, Murwak's Labyrinth, and Xavier Heightlands were crap.
Yeah, the word you're looking for is
I think they were trying something with Arethia's Limbo. I really think they were trying something, but it did not execute very well. I really did like the concept of Murwak's Labyrinth, where you had these different rooms, and the more people grinding in the different rooms would spawn the boss better, and then you all collectively go to the boss room together and kill the boss, get loot, repeat. But that didn't turn out so well. It wasn't really good money-wise. I'm not too sure how they could fix the grind spot, if they should fix the grind spot at all. And Xavier Highlands, I don't think anybody really talks about Xavier Highlands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a forgotten spot.
It's still rough. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the spots in the zone. Okay, so there's a couple concepts introduced here. First of all, I just want to say I loved Mirrorwalk Labyrinth. As somebody that was being hunted avidly by Black Rose because I was in Vertex, I loved Mirrorwalk's Labyrinth, bro. Like, let me out, man. Like, they just keep killing me, bro. Like, it was a nightmare. But like, so you get this Mirrorwalk Labyrinth, as J-Kun touched on. So there's 6 people in 6 different rooms, all grinding separately, but toward a common goal, and then you all come together to fight the boss. I think that was really cool. It was a good concept. I think that the reason it flopped was not because it was a failed mechanic, but more so because it just didn't make a whole lot of money. And if you don't make something worth a whole lot of money, video players are just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So like, Mirrorwalks kind of fell to the wayside, but that is a brand new mechanic that we saw. And what's the name of the what's the name of the other one? The one that nobody grinds at, J-Kun. What's the name of the?
It's Winter Tree Fossil or Xavier Highlands.
I know it is the Winter Tree Fossils. That's right. So the Winter Tree Fossils. This is the first time, and then they changed Sakurai Upper at the time too. This is when they shift Sakurai Upper. And this Xavier Highlands, this Winter Tree Fossils, you don't need a loot scroll anymore to grind at these locations. Right, and that's a new concept for us too. And honestly, that's when we kind of saw PA right around Odie into right around Odalita into Mountain of Eternal Winter is when we see PA stop. The words I'm going to use are money grabbing, but like they start catering to players that maybe want to play the game a little bit more for free than the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like,
he's putting it nicely.
Yeah, like I mean, like they start handing us tier 4 pets. They introduce the concept of tier 5 pets eventually. They give it to you basically. They could have monetized T5 pets all day and we would have spent the money and we would have liked it, right? But like they went this free to play. Like they start handing us maids left, right, and center. They start handing us pets left, right, and center. Inventory. We see weight. Like I don't know. They haven't really done much with weight, but actually they have. They made everything way less weight. Way less weight. Silver obviously has no more weight. That happened back in Kama. We forgot to touch on that. The potions way less. Like trying to manage all that stuff. We get the fairies introduced. And those over time they've handed us free fairy reroll coupons and stuff too. So like we see this transition toward more of a like you can play BDO and not spend thousands of dollars on the game like previously, because I think they realized that they were losing a lot of players both to the concept of their PvE grind and to this like monetization, this over monetization of their game, right? So at this point we've got Mirrorwalk's Labyrinth, we've got the introduction of places without loot scrolls, like the idea of grinding without loot scrolls, and then we have Jade Starlight Forest, which is it's a tweak. It's a tweak. So they liked Turos. They liked Turos a lot, but the flame at Turos drops much more frequently, and then the embers drop more frequently as well. So like both drop more frequently. But then they were like, okay, we're gonna tone this down for the Mountain of Eternal Winter. So like we're only gonna let them have one or two embers an hour, and we're gonna let them have one flame every 50 to 100 hours. On average, as opposed to Turos, which I would say you're getting 3 to 5 embers an hour, and then you're getting a flame. I guess the flame's more rare at Turos. You're getting a flame like once every 100 to 200 hours, typically at Turos. I mean, some people are different, but like, so they changed up the drop rates a little bit, but it's basically a throwback to what we saw before, and that flame thing worked. We liked that mechanic. The PvE Lords absolutely love that. They could go grind for their gear progression, and it got people to be really active. We also see the introduction of artifacts at the time, and to be honest with you, I think that the artifacts were the best. You guys, tell me if you think that there was a better gear type introduction into the game. I don't know how to phrase it. Like when they add gear to the game, we see like right now, we're gonna touch on the Devil Rocket earring later. But like when they add gear to the game, we see it usually as one gear piece at a time, or we see it as one like group of gear at a time, or we add more Coffrus, or we do okay, it's just another dead god. The artifacts is the first thing where they actually let us customize our characters. Like we could there were all these options, and it got everyone playing at every grind spot in the game. I thought that was so perfectly
I really
designed.
That edition.
Like that literally, I think that they nailed it. They got everyone grinding basically every grind zone in the game, at least for a little while, to get the artifacts they wanted. Then they had to go get all the light stones they wanted to, just like mix and match, and then they can use different artifacts and different light stones for every situation. I mean, nowadays, how many different I could equip I could play for 4 hours and equip 6 different artifacts setups to kind of get me through those 4 hours. And I think that was super cool, and it added a dynamic to PvE grinding that just felt really good. Even as a veteran player, or even as a new player that helped you grind. I don't know, Jake, how'd you feel about artifacts?
I think that was the first time they've added like an equipment slot to the game, right? Everything beforehand,
since then, right?
Since then, first time in the game,
since Awakening.
I think it was again, as you touched on, I think it was a really good way to add a customization for the character, and I think they've made this system. How do I word it? It's like they can expand upon it in the future. They've built it from the ground so that you can expand in the future. And I'm really excited to see any new lightstone combinations and artifacts that come in the future. I was like hoping for maybe class specific lightstone combinations in the future. Maybe like something that, maybe your Voltaic does 10% more damage or something like that, as an example of class specific lightstone combinations. And so I'm really excited for what they have in stores for us in the future. I don't think they talked about any lightstone things in the new expansion, but maybe they'll add some in the future. So yeah,
I don't think they've touched on that system in a while, but it's a good system.
Yeah, I mean, like their energy is occupied elsewhere at the moment, and as we know with Pearl Abyss development, they can do exactly one thing at a time. Now in fair to their credit, the thing that they're working on is amazing, and typically whenever they release it, it's freaking awesome lately, the last couple of years or so. But like they can only handle one thing at a time, bro. Do you want balance in PvP, or do you want a new expansion? Take your pick, because you can't have both. All right, so now we've kind of gotten through this idea. So we started, remember guys, when we started Saucins and Pirates, it was, I'm gonna one-shot the pack, I'm gonna move to the next group of mobs, I'm gonna one-shot the next pack, right? And our biggest complaint with that that kind of style of grinding was, okay, there's not enough places to grind. There's too many players and not enough places to grind. It's really stale. Then they introduced Valencia, and Valencia is basically just the same thing, but with more grind zones. So like you're all more grind zones. Kama Sylvia is where we first see this party grinding introduction, and we all absolutely love it. Drigan ended up being a bit of a step backwards, but it was their very first attempt at like a boss style grind. Flopped, but hey, you give them credit for trying on that. And then we move on to Odie, which was a massive success. I think it was their best PvE expansion to date. As we discussed, as we introduced a lot more mechanics to the game, like fun PvE mechanics to the game. We didn't talk about Elvia, so let's touch on Elvia a little bit, because I've handled it kind of expansion by expansion. Do you guys like grinding Serenia versus Calpheon Elvia? Why or why not? Tiltus, why do you choose to grind Elvia?
Well, I don't anymore, because you just make more money at uppies, but
don't you dare call it uppies. Don't you dare. Kiwi right now is laughing her butt off, man. I told that woman that was never gonna catch on. It was stupid, and now everyone calls it uppies. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No,
Anyway.
I really liked the Serendia spots when they came out. I thought they were enjoyable because all of a sudden the mobs that you had,
Ash for no
welcome back.
reason. I don't know. Like, it's okay, all right. Welcome back. Here we go.
Welcome back.
All right. So anyway, as Stiltus was saying, we took these old grind spots that just were basically useless, just dead content in the game, and they made them into useful stuff. Right? Like the things that players actually want to go do. Jake, I don't think you don't really grind Elvia very much, right? I mean, like you
I used to.
patrols.
I did. I grinded it a lot actually, and
okay.
when it first released back in 2020, like Orcs was my life. Orcs was my life. I really love the concept that they added this sort of like power up mechanic, like for 10 minutes, and you also got this like brand new skill. They never reused this skill anymore.
Oh yeah.
Apparently in Calpheon Elvia you can't use the Elvia skill, which was kind of lame because I actually really loved the Awakening exclusive skill. Yeah, in Calpheon Elvia you can't use it when you get the buff. You can only use it with Serendia Elvia, which was kind of lame.
What?
And yeah.
No way! I didn't even know that. Why would they do that?
Did you use the Elvia skill very much?
Yeah, I mean, like when I was, oh my god, it was how Witch.
Yeah,
got
it just
through
one
the
shot
grind,
everything,
bro.
which was
Yeah,
amazing.
Like, it was great. Like,
but I guess they maybe did not want that in Calpheon Elvia, so they. I hope they do add it, and in future Elvia expansions, I'm assuming there's going to be future Elvia expansions past Calpheon, but I hope they bring back that new exclusive mechanic because that was like one of my most favorite parts about Elvia is having this power up mechanic. You get a brand new skill, and it's just a good time to grind, and you make a lot of money before they nerfed it, and then you.
Trinity, thanks for that resub, sister.
Yeah.
21 months,
Yeah,
love you.
I liked the LVS spots. I thought it was a good way to bring life back into the old spots that we hadn't touched in years.
Literally years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on it a little bit. They basically they took all of these mechanics, and they just added more of them, right? For solo grinding, there was no yes, there were attempts at group grinding, but imps. I don't know, imps. I didn't really like imps. Very
Imps
much.
was nice because you only needed one person. So you
Yeah,
just
I
grab
like that
somebody
duo
and-
grind. I just didn't like that. Like the leashing, it was kind of clunky, and it just didn't feel like it
Yeah.
worked all the time. It was kind of annoying. But yeah, okay. So we've touched on basically everything at this point, and we've seen kind of this PvE evolution over time. Now let's transition to the Mountain of Eternal Winter. I mean, to the Land of the Morning Light. Yeah, okay. The Land of the Morning Light. Okay, so we saw in the dev note, they have confirmed now, we saw it before, they're going towards this boss style grinding. And to me, God, I hope it's not like Shuriken was like the first thing through my head, right? Like, because their first attempt at this crashed and burned. I want to hear what you guys, like, are you excited about it? Are you concerned about maybe some of the aspects here? We'll start with Tiltus. Tiltus, what do you think about this?
So if you had told me, I'm gonna group this together for just a second. If you had told me this without dungeons being in the game, I'd have told you it flopped, because none of their bosses have any kind of good mechanics in the game so far. There's a few here and there, but the dungeons are where, like, if I hadn't played the dungeons 2 weeks ago and had this conversation, I'd be like, it's gonna flop, it's useless, that's dead content on arrival. After doing the dungeons and actually seeing that they're capable of making bosses that are actually engaging and require you to use brain power and work as a group to kill, I'm totally down for it. I think it's gonna do phenomenal. Actually, I'm really excited about
Okay.
it. Excuse me.
Jacob, what do you think?
Yes. Of
course, the
I'm so
guys like
excited.
more,
So
more.
PvE endgame is my life. So this is like the one thing that I've always wanted is some sort of. Also, did you know they're adding leaderboards to these bosses?
Yes, I saw that. Yes,
I'm like,
dude,
I'm
I love
definitely
stuff
going
like
to.
that.
Yeah, and there's like there was like the PvP leaderboards with Arena of Solaire. I was like, oh. Yeah, PvP. But this is my jam. This is my jam. I'm so excited to start. Maybe I'll be at the top. I don't know. I'm gonna be trying hard for these leaderboards. So I'm curious to see what kind of mechanics it's coming out tomorrow. So I kind of like spoiling myself. So I'll probably be watching a lot of Korean streams and see what the bosses has in store for us. So yeah.
So this may come with just my gaming history, but I've gotten to the point now, especially after Elden Ring, I'm gonna tangent for just a second. Elden Ring spoiled me on this. I went into Elden Ring completely blind, and I'm a huge FromSoft fanboy, and I had so much fun not knowing anything about it. I refused to watch videos, I refused to watch streams or
Yes, I do
anything,
this
and I
too.
figured everything out myself, and I had such a good time with it that now I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna watch any Korean. I'm not gonna watch a single video about it outside of the teasers. I'm like, no, I want to go into it blind and actually just do it for the first time and have fun with it. I think figuring stuff out is so much fun in games and rewarding.
That's my favorite
No,
thing
yeah, 100%,
about expansions.
100%,
Yeah, it's just going in and figuring stuff out. Okay, so you guys touched about all the good things that we're going to see in the land of the Morning Light. You're very excited about it. I'm also excited too, but I'm very hesitant because they released that, one, it's going to be weekly gated. And I know there's some very strong feelings in the community about this from some of our content creators who shall remain nameless. But like, so there's some very strong feelings about gating the PvE boss grind mechanics to like weekly stuff that you can only do so many times, right? And adding leaderboards to it. Let's touch on this first. What do you guys think about making them weekly things? Especially Jakun, you're the biggest like person. You love the dungeon. You love the dungeon, and this is the closest thing we have to this is the dungeon. Do you like the fact that the dungeon is gated as a weekly, or would you rather have like?
Okay, so I like the fact that you don't feel pressured to constantly grind it. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, I wish I could keep grinding the dungeon for good money.
3 months,
but I kind of like how it gives us this like good weekly reward that I'm not obligated to constantly run. I can just do my one weekly dungeon for the run of the day, and then I get, you know, all this good loot, potentially good loot. And in terms of this, I think it might be a little bit different. I think a lot of people are concerned with the weekly time gate because people want to do things now and not
Right
later.
now.
Yeah.
And so for people who are like hardcore and stuff in the game, that will be a concern for them. And then for people who might not be playing as much, then maybe that's a good thing for them, because I know a lot of my viewers, they always say, oh, where can I grind most efficiently, since I only have like 1 to 2 hours to grind a day, or maybe every couple days. And so maybe this system might be more beneficial for them. And so maybe the devs are trying to tailor more to those kinds of people, because maybe those are the more majority, right? The majority are casual and there's less hardcore people, etc., etc. So I think that's what they were trying with this system. I don't know if it's gonna work though. We'll see.
So I will say that most games, some of their upper end PvE content is gated, and that's fairly normal. WoW raids are weekly gated. Destiny is weekly gated. Blue's already wagging his finger.
I want to go ahead. Let him talk.
I don't think it's necessarily going to end up being a problem. I think PA is moving more towards PvE, and I think if it becomes a problem, that there's a better chance of them fixing it and making it, you know, multi kills per week or something like that. I don't want to see them uncap it entirely. I think you're just going to get a bunch of people always running the bosses nonstop because, you know, they make the most money doing that. I think it's better to have some kind of, maybe you get your 3 kills or 4 kills or 5 kills or whatever a week, and then you're done. I don't want to see them completely uncap it.
Okay. All right. So one thing I want to touch on is that you compared our PvE to Destiny and like Lost Ark and some of the other games who have this weekly gated content, and I would argue that that's the worst fucking part of those games. That's literally the worst part of those games. Oh. Yes. Like BDO is the pioneer of grind. Like this BDO has really mastered making grinding feel, what's the word? Like meaningful and rewarding. And the fact that you can do basically all the content in the game as many times as you want is a big part of the game. I mean, I remember I was giving an orientation to some of our new players in Reforged, and they're like, we heard this game was grindy, and I was like, yeah, it's really grindy. They were like, no. We know a thing or two about grind. We play Destiny too. And I almost fell out of my chair laughing at them. I honest to God, like I was laughing, so I was like, oh my sweet summer children. No, this is a good grind game. Like gating your content behind like weekly that stuff, like you're just limiting people to and you end up with this narrow mindset where a player logs in just to do their weeklies and then closes the game. So like, I'm not saying that that's necessarily what's going to happen here. It didn't necessarily happen with the dungeon, but people like J-Kun would be much, much happier if their dungeon content weren't as weekly gated. You would also have a lot more silver, but that honestly, and that would be okay with the rest of us. Mainly because he's hard cap gear, he can't go anywhere. But like, making money off of PvE is not a bad thing, and doing it differently than grinding is also not a bad thing. We don't dislike that. We also don't want to see the game gated around weeklies. I've seen this before, where like, how many of us hated doing our pen daily for our pen crescent? Like, our pen narc, we hated doing that. Like, we basically just dragging your feet every day to get this weekly done, or to get this daily done. Right? It's just, it felt so miserably monotonous after a while. People just don't like doing it. The T10 is another good example of this. People don't like doing that every day either. And if you feel like you have to do that content, I don't know, I feel like you could turn a lot of players off. So it's gonna be delicate. I think that if they make the rewards too high and then they gate it, like, people like J-Kun are gonna want to do this stuff all the time. And if they gate it, then you can't. And like, that's what you want to be doing. Let players like Jay do this more frequently. Just maybe you tone down the rewards after a while. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up panning out. But the second thing I want to touch on that you guys didn't really touch on is that this is instance grinding. There's no way, they haven't explicitly said it, but there's actually just no way that this works.
Instance? Oh.
Yeah, there's no way that this works without it being instance. Is my thoughts on this. And I think very critically here, you're tanking the amount of PvP that is able to happen. Is this a good thing? If you can't PvP players while they're PvEing, is that a good thing? This is controversial as hell, but like, Jacob, let's field you first, because I know Tiltus is gonna have thoughts on this.
Okay, so in terms of so I was an Awakening Witch for 5 years, and I feel like I've been traumatized for a very long time by grab classes, etc., etc. So I am leaning more towards less PvP while PvEing. So I'm on that side of the fence. I like this, to be honest. But okay, fun fact about me, I was so close to being a lawn main. I actually started the game when lawn released. I made a lawn, but I couldn't play her because it was pre-creation week, so I had to play something else in the meantime, and it was Witch, and I just ended up loving Witch more. But I felt like if I was a lawn player, I would feel a lot different, because I feel like I would have been a more toxic person.
Oh yeah,
to be honest, if it was a lawn main.
No.
But I feel like I've been humbled.
Players.
I feel like I've been humbled by playing Awakening Witch.
You're thinking of Musa players. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, otherwise known as Yasuo mains. But Tiltus, what do you think about like the instance grinding? No more PvP.
Dude, I'm gonna keep it $1. Fucking open world content is dying. It's not popular anymore. Most open world GVGs last for 10 minutes at the most, and then they're done. Yeah, most of your open world content you get at fucking Garmoth, when Garmoth spawns, before and after. So I don't think anything is gonna change if they instance the bosses. I think your open world is already pretty much gone for the most part. There's very few times. You know, the last time I asked somebody to DFS, you know what happened?
You got turbo?
They said, "Oh, you're good. I'll just swap." And they went to a different channel, and I was like, "Bro, I wanted to fight.
Good job, buddy.
I was ready."
Duo.
Like, now I just flag up on people when I see them in open world, because I'm like, if I want the spot, I'm not even gonna. I'm just gonna take it.
Because that's better behavior, bro. I don't think like, bro. I literally, there's something inside me that like comes alive. It's like the demon inside. If somebody just comes in flagged up onto my rotation, and I die, I'm an Awakening. I don't care. Okay, now I'm pissed because you handled this poorly, because you don't have basic social skills. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna make sure if I can't grind, you're not gonna grind either. Okay, like it's both of us can play at this game. I grew up in Histria. You have no idea. In Histria, they would come in flagged and I would just take off my gear. I'd be like, take me. And then like they would
put
kill
all your
me,
gear back on and send
then
you
I would
jail.
stand up, put all of my gear on, perfume, trout, everything, turbo them with Fisher Wave, and be like, "I'll see you in 30 minutes, Chief. Like, have a good one." Like I don't mind DFS. I don't like it when people flag and run out of my rotation. But like,
man, that's I enjoy that the most. But I'm also like a Dark Souls player that enjoys ganking people while they're trying to get to the boss with their summons. So
okay, so you like this idea of open world. See,
yeah,
here's the thing.
that's the style of PvP I like to do. I like to jump in and do dumb stuff like that. But the thing is that open world is mostly dead at this point. So instancing the bosses, I don't think is gonna change. I don't. It's whatever. It just further puts the nail in the coffin for open world, I think.
I think that just because some player like it's dying, there's not as many people that enjoy open world content, doesn't mean that there's no players that enjoy open world content. And BDO
I love open world content. It's just
BDO
not
is
as fun as it used to be.
BDO is founded as a game as something that like every single player, no matter who you are, every single gamer can find something in BDO that they absolutely love. And for those players that just want to run around and kill people all day, I think that this is just not a great thing. Now, my chat brought up a very good point. Because it's weekly gated, people will have to come grind at normal grind spots. But here's the thing. You do your weekly gated grind spot, then you come back and you get your hour a day grinding uninterrupted on LVR or whatever the hell you want to do, right? Like, you're basically just killing open world PvP there, and I don't really like that very much. And I also understand now why they're trying to do like this weekly gated content is probably because they're honestly trying to make it accessible. Like they're trying to like at least make it reasonable for open world players that still want to open world PvP. Because honestly, nothing brings the top end siege guilds or the top end PvP guilds in the game together more than a new expansion. Because everyone is grinding at the same spots. For like Mountain of Eternal Winter, for example, unless you were at Mirrorwalk's Labyrinth, at the Jade Starlit Forest, there's just swaths. There's like 10 BR running around just beating the shit out of everyone. And then there's like a platoon of 15 Vertex going server to server for them, and they're beating the crap out of everyone. And the Chomies are just not doing any PvP because no one wants to fight them. But like,
that was so specific and so right on the nail.
Right,
you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, no. Joe calls the GVG and only half the people show up because like the second or third Joe Nation member shows up, you're like, well, we're out. But like the new expansions are some of like, that's the time when open world PvP comes to life. Most of the time, that's when you get the most GVGs. That's when some of my best experiences with GVGs are fighting over like the resources of trying to grind around this new expansion to try to get my flame or whatever, like Turos GVGs or Mountain of Eternal Winter, the Jade-Lit Forest GVGs. And so I think them taking that aspect of the game away is really going to kind of destroy the magic of the new expansion for some of the higher level players in the game. Now I'm hoping that PvE content is good enough that we kind of overlook this a little bit, but like I don't, and I hope that the next Calpheon Ball, instead of just saying, okay, well we don't care about open worlders anymore, we don't give a crap about that, I would like to see them rework it a little bit. I would like them, instead of maybe just take, yeah, sure, you could take away open world content, but like then you add something like server wars to the game.
Oh yeah.
Right, like rework it a little bit so that we don't feel as bad about you making instance content is kind of a big deal. So like just speaking for some of the PvPers there, kind of a big deal. Now the third, okay, so we've talked a lot about the PvE stuff. Do you guys want to say anything more about these bosses? Now, one thing, J-Kun, these leaderboards. You said you wanted to see more leaderboards. What do you want to see leaderboards in PvE?
So I think I wanted to see it more in something like the dungeons.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I had this
way.
like conversation
Jacob,
with a friend the other day about how because he was an avid World of Warcraft player, and in World of Warcraft they had this system called like Mythic Plus, which basically scaled the dungeon up. And I would have loved to see something like that in BDO. And I know BDO has a really good job, does a really good job of like making old content relevant again, and I feel like adding scaling dungeon content in the game would continuously like get players more competitive towards doing the dungeons more.
Yeah, where
so
more leaderboards should be added to the game.
And I did notice that as we got more gear, a lot of the mechanics started being skipped, And so if there was scaling dungeon, then we couldn't skip the mechanics. We have to do it properly, and even like maybe adding brand new mechanics when we got to a certain difficulty. That would be great to, reinvigorate the dungeons. I don't know how many more dungeons are going to come in BDO. I hope there's going to be more than 4, because the next one is supposedly the last dungeon of Ataraxian, and so I can't wait to see what's in store for us in the future. We'll see. So.
Tiltus, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this. So this idea that we're moving away from, so for 7 years, we have played BDO in a world that the only real end game in BDO, no way around it, was PvP. And now we're looking at, is this a correct take on how to do end game PvE content compared to other games? Is this the correct way to kind of start approaching it? Go ahead.
Dude, it's gonna be.
What would you rather see instead? If you feel like there's something they could do better instead, what could they be doing instead?
It's so weird because, like, I'm a veteran PvP player. That was the whole reason I pretty much started playing the game. You know, after I grinded, I jumped into Node War Guild. I have done Node Wars ever since. I've shot called for God knows how long. It's why I'm bald. So like, I want there to be more PvP in the game. I think it's like it was what BDO was kind of like built upon, was like this game of like open world PvP. PvP's always on. You know, you have these huge GVGs. You have all these PvP mechanics, and now things are slowly transitioning to PvE, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. They need to be really careful that they strike a good balance, and that, because PvP players are probably the most dedicated players to the game, I would say.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, that's not even, that's 100% true.
Like, we are the people that sit here and grind countless hours for dumb stuff. You know, we min-max everything we possibly can. We spend the most time organizing and structuring everything, running guilds to be, you know, PvP dedicated, you know, running PvP trials and all this crap. So there definitely needs to be a good balance. I don't want to see them get rid of PvP open world entirely, even though it seems like that's kind of the direction that we're moving. I think if they're going to instance the bosses, the PvPers need something besides a 2-month AOS. Give us something. I want to see something more for PvP to balance it out, because like when AOS is active, you have a bunch of PvPers that only do AOS, and that's why they play the game. They log in, they play AOS, they grind the crap out of it, and they don't grind as much, you know, but they're on the game. So the flip side is
the same could be said of Node Wars. The same could be said of Node Wars, but go ahead.
Yeah. And then you flip side that, you have PvE. The thing is that you can do PvE anytime. You can do the dungeons anytime that you want, as long as you have a group. You can grind anytime that you want. You can grind with a group as long as you have a group. You can do the bosses. You know, it seems like it's going to be weekly gated or whatever. But you could do this content at any time. There's no, you know, turn off switch for the dungeons. Okay, guys, it's 11 o'clock at night. We're turning off the dungeons, like there is for PvP. And you know, AOS is only lasts like what, 2 months?
Yeah.
How long the season is? 2 months?
I don't know how long it actually lasts for.
I think it's 2 months. It's 2 or 3 months, somewhere in that ballpark.
Right. Yeah, sounds about right.
And then Node War is, you know, this window. You have this time, and this is when you get to do your PvP, organized PvP. So I think if they're going to instance bosses, I would like to see them provide something to the PvP players that we can congregate around.
Yeah. So there's a problem.
I don't know what that something is, but something.
There's a problem here, because the problem is we are in the vast minority of players. Although PvPers are, yes, they're generally the most active players in the game, that play the game at a most like min-max level. We're also like the least amount of people, so part of the reason we're seeing this transition to PvE, they used to cater to us all the time. We have Node Wars, we have Siege, we have AOS, we have open world GVGs, we have the Karma system. You can technically go red and all this stuff. Like, so yeah, some of these systems are kind of outdated. However, they have made the game for the first like 4 or 5 years has been based around PvPers, and PvPers have gotten their way. But see, I think that they gave PvEers like more and more over the years, and now they're realizing, oh my god, there's so many more PvEers in the game if we just give them what they want instead of the PvPers. We have so many more players, like, and more people playing the game helps the PvPers. So I'll be honest, I actually don't think that they're going to be working on PvP content. I mean, we'll see, but I don't think they're going to be working on any necessarily big PvP content, because like 5 years of all PvP content, it's only been like the last 2 years or so that they've really tried to develop like later game PvE stuff. And
I
honestly,
think they have
that.
ideas of stuff they've already brought up that would be enjoyable for PvPers. I think that they should tackle. I think, you know, the 10v10 game mode, Thornwood Castle, would be fantastic. It's a nice start.
Well, that's PvE and PvP. That's like Gambit. From anyone that doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's fine. I'm good with that. Do that. Do something.
It's just like Gambit from Destiny 2.
Yeah, Destiny. I think a 5v5 AOS would be awesome. I think just straight 1v1 AOS would be dope as well. And then a casual and ranked mode also allow us to play with our fucking friends. I think it's dumb that we can't. There are things I think they could do that would just help PvPers in general that they've already talked about in the past. So
what if they like introduce? I like the PvE and PvP game mode. I'll touch on it a little bit so players know what we're talking about. We're talking about Thornwood Castle, which is just south of the Odalita expansion. Was this castle that was going to be like this 5v5 or 10v10 game mode where you had to work together as a group of 10 players to try to get through these PvE objectives, but you could get like portals into the other team's like stuff, and you could send a player over and he could like PvP all the enemy players and try to slow them down and slow their objectives down. So you have this mix of PvE and PvP content coming together. I think the reason they stopped development on that is because they saw that Gambit in Destiny 2 was kind of a failure. And because they modeled the dungeon after Destiny 2, I know they were looking at Gambit. Part of the reason part of the reason they were looking at releasing it in the first place was because Destiny is a lot like BDO, grind-wise, but BDO just does it better, in our opinion, obviously, anyway. But, like, yeah, that kind of concept would be really, really cool to see. Well, we'll see in the coming months to see how they kind of address the PvP versus PvE situation. Let's move on to our next topic here that I'm going to let Jay kind of open us up on. Deboraka earrings. Jay.
Deboraka.
Yes.
So, it's a brand new earring with this interesting 3-set effect. If you guys don't know, the Deboraka earrings are, in my opinion, the best accessories in the game. Some people would beg to differ because there's, you know, different options.
And they would be wrong, but that's okay. Go ahead.
They would be wrong, yeah. But they have, I think the earrings are set at 19. I just wanted to talk about that stat line. What do you guys think about the 19 AP stat line? Do you think it should have been more or a different stat line? Some people were saying it should have been distos without the DB. Oh, sorry, I forgot to talk about it. So the 3-set effect is plus 10 hidden AP and 3% crit damage for wearing 3 different Deboraka. Sorry, is it different? No, just 3 Deboraka.
3 Deboraka accessories. Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be different accessories. And so I do think that's going to make it better than distos if you do have Deborakas, but they're very hard to acquire in the first place. So the 19 AP stat line. I don't know.
So yeah, no, I'll pick it up while he updates himself. But like, so I don't like. Look, I didn't like that we went towards this gear model where like, okay, this is the best gear path. Like hands down, you can't. Like I like having gear options. That's why the artifact system was so engaging and fun. Was that you had different options, but like we see this in the Dead God armor. Like, bro, it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter which one you go. You're just gonna get the C10 and turn it into the Dead God anyway, and that's the best in slot. There's no way around it. I don't like that, and I think that pushing accessories in this direction, that is objectively the best in slot. You need to wear at least one of them. Ideally, you would wear the Debo neck, the Debo belt, and 1 Debo earring. But like that's going to be objectively the best. So you basically have to do that as an end-game capped player. You can't go 2 pen distos. It just doesn't make any sense. You're talking about trading. It's 4 total AP, right? At the point where you're going for pen distos, the brackets are like like you hit a bracket, you get 2 extra hidden AP.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Super Saiyan. So like, even if that 4, let's say you're wearing 2 distos, 2 pen distos, so you have 4 total sheet AP over somebody that was wearing a Devo. Even if you hit a bracket there, you got 6 total AP. Like that's it. Like, so whether it's sheet or not is irrelevant. Then versus the Devo, you've got 2 less sheet AP, but you've got 10 more hidden AP, which puts you over 4 for our math majors in the audience. Puts you 4 AP over where you would be with the distos on, and you get 10 DP back. Literally 10 DP.
10 DP, yeah.
Yeah,
minus DR.
And the crit damage. And the critical hit damage, which is like, it makes it infinitely better. Even if the AP was the same, it just makes it way better.
Yeah.
The only way
think about capped content with
right.
extra 3% crit damage. I mean, that's
right.
huge.
And the only way you could say, you're like, oh, well, the disto is still better because of the accuracy. Bro, the people that are saying that are wearing Dawn earrings. Okay? Like, there's no reason to like take the accuracy. It's just objectively the best earring in the game, hands down. What you wear aside from that, I like that they made it a 3-set effect and not a 4-set effect, so you don't have to wear both earrings. But like, again, I like that variety, and I think that we're bottlenecking the whole player base into, hey guys, we all need Deboraka necklaces, and by the way, you can only get it at 1 grind spot in the game that only has 1 fucking rotation, and the thing drops once every 4 hours. Good luck. And we're just bottlenecking everyone onto this Debo, this railroad Debo gear path alongside the Dead God stuff. We're all just gonna end up wearing Dead God and Debos in it. Like, I don't know, like, they talk about wanting players to diversify their gear and like making it good. We're not diversifying our gear. We're this is convergent evolution here. We're all coming together. Like, I don't know. I don't really like that choice in path. I do think it's the best in slot, hands down. Like, I don't know if you can even debate that, but like, I don't like that they're coming together. Tilsis, it sounds like you agree with me. But
that dude, you're talking about stuff I have asked for literal years for them to fix. They have systems in the game already that exist. I think I talked about this last week. They have systems in the game already that exist that would allow you to diversify if they would just find the correct balance between them. DR, evasion, accuracy, AP, this rock, paper, scissors kind of system that they have. I hate it when they just are like, hey, this is the best in slot, good luck, and everybody goes and gets it. It was I talked about it earlier when I was trying to get my Ergons back in the day. It was like, the reason I was getting my Ergons is because it was the best in slot boot at the time. This was before Caphras was a thing. This was before evasion was actually viable. It was all DR AP builds. That's what you did, and I hated that. I loved it when people, when they took the crystal slots out of the green offhands and just made it, now you have all your crystal slots, and now suddenly the green offhand reformed is technically better at the high-end AP because you get an extra 10% modifier on your special attack. I love stuff like that. It allows diversity to crop up into the game. But when you're just like shoehorning, here's the best in slot, okay, everybody go get it.
Yeah, and also, one of my viewers brings up a good point. I think it makes I think this is just a buff to evasion. As an evasion build, yeah, I'm fully on board with everyone on the server having less accuracy because it's an objectively better build. Yes, please. Yeah, I'm down with that. But see, here's the thing: there won't be evasion builds anymore. The gloves are gonna come out, right? And that's it.
There will be 2 versions of.
There's 2 versions of the gloves.
Oh, okay, all right. So there are 2 versions of the gloves.
Yeah.
Okay, but so evasion is just objectively better.
Yeah.
Excellent. As someone that's already an evasion build, love to hear that. Big fan. I just don't like that they're basically pushing all of our content together, so that we all basically have to grind for the same thing, which again makes us all grind at the same grind zones. Why? It just throttles their own content. Like, why would you develop all these other beautiful grind zones? Why would you develop all these other beautiful accessories and all these other different ways to play the game if you're just going to make one way objectively better than everything else? Because that's what everyone is going to do. You can't get this stuff off the market. This isn't like, oh, well, the best place to get Devos is Orcs because I make more money at Orcs and I can just buy them off the market, right? That was the strategy for Distos for a long time. You could just get Distos off the market, but see, Devos drop... They've designed these Debarakas, like the belt and the necklace, to drop at such a low rate that you have to go grind the spot yourself if you want to get anywhere with that content, which throttles everyone onto the same like grind spaces. Like so we've just like all of these new bosses and stuff aren't going to matter. The only one that's ultimately going to matter is to most of us at the high end is the one that drops the Debo earring. Whichever one drops the Debo earring will be the most popular because that's what everybody needs. And more and more, we're gonna see more and more people want to grind Ash Forest. More and more people want to grind Crypt when they reach the gear score. But like we're gonna see less and less players at those lower end spots. And then honestly, for PvPers, this is a win. Because like there's only one grind spot at Ash Forest. Right, there's literally only one grind spot at Ash Forest, and like if all of the servers are full, well, you're just encouraging PvP at that point. So maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Jay, what do you think about diversifying? As someone that you are the latest game player in this call, what do you think?
So I think in terms of like diversifying accessories, I think that leads into the 2 new accessories that's coming up, right? The Tebek accessories, where they're adding these abilities onto accessories. For example, like the belt at Penn. Pardon?
Oh yeah. No, go ahead. I just Oh man. Oh, don't get me started on this shit. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking maybe that was their like strategy in helping with diversifying the accessories.
Yeah,
maybe Deboreka's might not be the best in slot because there's this other option that gives you this really powerful ability. So for example, the necklace, if you guys didn't know, there was a GIF explaining how it works. Basically, the warrior was grabbing a lawn. The lawn uses the ability from the necklace. She gets out of the grab, and then she counter grabs. It's basically like a parry mechanic. Was the best way I was able to. Yeah, it's a guard break, a parry mechanic, so you could counteract. And so maybe in terms of introducing these exclusive abilities on accessories, or maybe even gear in the future, could help with diversifying the gear.
I hate it. I hate
you
that.
hate it.
You really?
I absolutely. And I'm an awakening witch, bro. This strategy, this entire game, they have struggled to. I'm sorry, I feel so strongly. This entire game, they have struggled to balance grabs, right? But the whole PvP system is balanced around grabs. Awakening witch, for example, I want you to imagine fighting an awakening witch without a grab. Okay, it just became like 8 times harder to kill the Awakening Witch, right? That's like the counter to a lot of classes in the game if you did grab it, which sounds stupid. Yeah, it lacks interaction in some ways, but like you can dodge the grab. There's ways around it. I think they've done a decent job. But if you add a mechanic to the game, peak players being is already giga frustrating. Oh, I finally caught this fucking Sork. Where'd he go? That is so annoying, and then you gotta go through the whole process again. It's so annoying. And the worst part here is I feel like you're punishing good players. You're literally taking like a bad player and you're just like, yeah, you can just CC them for free. And so gear checking people, I don't know, I hate this mechanic. I do not like the fact that they add. So Jay touched on it earlier. So basically what this mechanic is when somebody were to come up to you and CC you, when you hit your V key, instead it stiffens them. You are no longer grabbed. You are no longer CC'd. It stiffens them instead. So, haha, you're better than me, but joke's on you, I had my V up. Like, what is that? Like, I just feel like that's like the least interactive mechanic that they have probably ever think tanked. I think that if that makes it to live, it could be horrendously bad, like catastrophically bad for PvP overall, because you're just like being a good player anymore no longer matters. Why even bother? Just let him come up to you and grab you, hit the V key. It's a guaranteed CC. You don't have to worry about it. Hit the V key and then just pump him with damage. Am I wrong? Like, Tiltus?
What if they have what if both players have a necklace? Then it's like Uno reverse the Uno reverse card, you know? Maybe.
Okay, so your solution. Let me get this straight.
Thing is, yeah, I'm surprised Blue is so vehemently against it. I played fucking DK for so long that I'm just like, yes. Give me my get out of jail free card.
Of course, I love it. I love it. The Dark Knight.
I'm like, let the grab classes come grab me, please.
You have so many iframes on DK that if you're getting grabbed, I'm
no.
sorry.
Okay, so you have to remember all my DK experience is from old DK before they even fixed the iframes, when you would literally get hit out of everything because everything had a wind-up animation.
I remember. I was a good Dark Knight.
So I'm scarred from that moment. So everything I say about DK, just remember I'm having flashbacks the entire time.
But like, I want you to take that and multiply by 50. Yeah, it's frustrating to get grabbed on a DK. I can't believe my iframe didn't work. And the witch is standing over. You have iframe? Like, the fuck do you mean you can avoid it? Like,
Wait,
I play witch, bro. Like, you said it. Like, yeah, I mean, but Blue, you play witch. I played DK. I had it really bad. Oh,
I'm scarred from
sorry?
old DK, dude.
Like,
It's not nearly as bad anymore.
Yeah, but even then, even old DK is still better than current witch. At the grab
So
stuff.
I would argue with you on that one, just because every skill DK had at the time had wind-up animations, so you weren't actually protected for a good chunk of the animations that you're doing. Lunacy, Wheel, both your iframes all had these wind-up animations where you get hit out of them, even though you were casting the skill.
What you're referring to is Wheel of Fortune, for example, had a gap at the end of the skill where if you tried to linger it. If you tried to linger it, well, there wasn't really a gap at the beginning. I played it.
No,
There
was a huge gap at the beginning.
Regardless, the idea here being that DK as a class, fundamentally, is jumping. You have to use skill after skill after skill very, very quickly, in quick succession. The way old DK worked is you had to go wheel, lunacy, like doing wheel, lunacy, and then iframing away. There was almost nothing you could do about that without those small gaps. The gaps were the counterplay to Dark Knight, and in those gaps, you could hit them, and they would actually be vulnerable. Versus, and again, she had 2 iframes, and then she had a forward dash, which is Smoky Haze. Yeah, which is Smoky Haze, which is a super armor, and then you had an iframe on the movement part of Airstrike, all of which, again, iframes, which way better than Witch, whose strategy was, I'm just gonna hit him with enough damage that if he grabs me, he's already dead. Like, that's the strategy for Witch. There's no other. It's not like, oh, well, DK is worse because it had gaps. DK had gaps because that was the only way to balance the iframes. Witch is way harder to avoid grabs on. As someone that played the old DK for 3.5 years. Okay, that's why I just wanted to make sure. And now Witch, and as an Awakening Witch main, I feel like that this change, adding a stiffen on V is so counterintuitive. You're basically telling all of the PvPers on the server that learning your class is fucking pointless. Like, why would I bother? I'm just, well, come on, walk up and grab me. Watch, see what happens. I'm gonna hit the V button, and I'm gonna Fisher Wave you, and you are done. And you are done. Like, there's no counterplay there. I think that I can't even imagine what is going on in the think tank in that room. It's like, guys, I got it. What if, like, we just took out the counterplay for all of the classes that we've been balancing for years, and we added a mechanic that allowed bad players to beat the good players? Armin's in shambles right now. Armin spent all this time learning ninja to get these really eloquent, like, super intricate grabs. Imagine being Flannels at this moment. Imagine being Flannels, where you've spent thousands of hours mastering a class so much better than everyone else, and you're gonna lose to the grand finals of the best in class tournament. You're gonna lose the best in class tournament because you're better than him. You grabbed him first, he V'd and just turboed you in like 2 skills, like before you could V, right? Like that. Bro, it just ruins
I'm
PvP.
curious how they're going to attempt to balance it, because it does. You're not wrong. It sounds incredibly strong.
It just
If
rewards
you
bad
could make a
gameplay.
balance change to it right now, what would you do to balance it?
I would remove it. Yeah, that would be my balance
Really?
solution.
No.
I find the
Just, like,
ban
get it
phase
out.
very effective for that particular. It's like how I would remove Rengar from my games. It's balanced. I just ban it every game. Done.
What do you think about the belts mechanic, where so at
what's the
10
belts
the
mechanic?
belt gives you 17 AP, similar to a Tauros belt, and it also gives you a 1-minute active buff of 30 AP, 50 DP, and 5% accuracy on a 10-minute cooldown.
Okay, that's
It's kind of
better.
like another E buff.
That's
Do you
great.
think that's a lot better? You think it's good?
So much better. It's balanceable, right? Every class can use it. You're not forced to use it. It doesn't feel like a bad mechanic. It doesn't feel like it punishes good gameplay, right?
Yeah.
So like that is the correct direction that they need to go. That is awesome. I like that. Sorry, Tilted.
One thing that I am worried about is do you think so I don't know how the mechanic works right now, but players are saying you could equip the belt, pop the buff, and then go back to your main belts. And so I'm not sure if that's gonna happen, but I feel like that would be
probably be a
kind of
thing.
broken.
That'll be
if
a
it was a
thing.
thing. Do you think it'll
Unless unless they use the same timer that your V has for these interactions.
it doesn't replace your V. It's just a new skill. That the belt.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's 100%.
The other one does
Yeah, you're
replace
gonna have
your
a
V.
pin one of those sitting off somewhere, and you're okay. Wizards, time to PA. Everybody puts their fucking belt on. PAs pops the fucking belt buff, and then they swap back. They go about what they're
Amen,
doing.
brother. But I think that's cool. Being able to tech gear in, it also gives late
that's
game
fine.
players
I don't have a
something to
problem with
do. That gives late game players something to do. Okay, yeah, you have your best in slot demo belt, but now you gotta go get this other belt because it gives you this passive buffs, and then you gotta worry about switching them and stuff. That's cool. I think that gives us a little bit more diversity in our builds, as I was saying before. Jake, what do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really like the belt. I'm just thinking of like situational use. I don't know if it's going to be too useful in PvE, to be honest, but definitely more of a PvP belt. I mean both accessories are more of a PvP accessory, and so I'm just thinking situationally, maybe at Zerker 200 this would be kind of crazy, but then again, caps. PvP cap. Maybe it might not even matter in like
It's
cap
gonna be
situations,
interesting.
so-
It's an interesting concept, and I like it just because it does give some kind of diversity. I think the only time you're gonna see it is on T4 nodes and in on Cap Siege.
Yeah.
That's the only time you'll see people using this belt, I think. Because I think all the other caps, maybe in T theories, maybe just to help players get to the caps, but it'll be interesting. It's a step in the right direction. I mean, adding more diversity in equipment is always a good thing, in my opinion.
I did notice that certain things can go over the cap. So for example, I learned this very recently, but the shy 200% gives you 300 DP, and that actually goes over node war caps. And so do you think maybe this belt should go over node war caps?
No.
No?
No, anything that compromises the caps is gonna hurt the players that are progressing. Uncapped PvP is for late game players, right? So like you don't really want it to go over the node war caps. Consumables are another way around that, which is a good segue into one of our later points here. Is that Jakun, I know you wanted to touch on this. The consumables for Land of the Morning Light have got to be the most interesting that I have ever seen. I'll let you take it first because I know you wanted to talk about it.
So I'm not too sure on the translated name, but there's this item that gives you 5,000 HP. It's like a big whale pot, basically, but it has a 22-hour cooldown. And I'm just wondering, what kind of situation would you ever use this item that has such a long cooldown? And the only situation I could ever think of is when a Zerker is 200ing, they're about to die, and they need like a quick recovery, and that's the only situation. I'm not sure anywhere else where you would really realistically use this, because I imagine it's going to be a pretty hard item to get. It's a really big whale pot, so
they said that it was going to be really hard to get. Like it was going to be like this. Oh, no, this is a different item. I'm thinking of the item where they were like, it's giga rare and you get like a 30-day buff, but we'll get into that in a second.
Oh, yeah, that one.
The 5,000 HP or the 500 HP or whatever, but it's got a long cooldown. I think that's great because it allows more diversity in node wars, for example. Like as a shot caller, I love that because see, I can tell everybody.
Yeah.
Okay,
everyone uses this item, right?
Yeah, everybody needs to
you
use their
call it out.
consumables.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll be for
you-
big pushes. I mean, it's like the same concept that the max heal has for node war, right? You heal all your players up to full health. It's kind of in that same vein. You only get that once per node war.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like, but it allows you to super buff your offense ball. So, like, for guilds that are, let's say, Cho Nation is an extreme example. Let's say Equilibrium is running into Cho Nation. Running is such a strong word, but like they could theoretically, with these new buffs and everything, they could simulate a lot more strengths. And instead of for this particular push, because Cho's not going to pop it going into them, but they could theoretically call for it. And have a lot more survivability against Cho, because part of the reason Cho is so strong, or Digi, or Corrupt, or Barcode, or Family, is so strong on these capped content is because they have way more HP than everyone else does. If you effectively give your entire offense ball 5,000 HP, you give them a fighting shot of being able to kill more of these high-end players. I think it's really good dynamically for Node Wars because it allows weaker guilds to kind of catch up with, like, simulate, if even for a brief moment, the strength
for
of a
one
stronger
push,
guild.
right?
Exactly.
1-2 pushes.
Give them a chance. Give them a chance, right? So I think that's really cool. What are some of the other consumables?
Yeah, so the next one is a food that gives you 500 energy right away, recovered, and
Yeah,
30
that's
energy
nuts.
recovery for 1 hour. And if I'm not mistaken, you tick energy every like 3 minutes. So 30 energy would equate to 600 energy recovered. So that's a total of 1100 energy recovered for that entire hour. I'm not too sure how would you utilize
That's-
1100
yeah.
energy in
I
an
was
hour,
wondering
but
that
it's
same
there.
thing.
It's
no,
there.
they-
It's a
but
22 hour
there. You
cooldown
can
as
do
well.
it. No, they had this. You guys didn't see? They added a new like concept to PvE, or like the life
Oh
skilling.
yeah, that's
There's
right.
these
the
life
Lifeskilling
The
skilling
mini
mini
games.
Mini
Yeah.
games,
Mini games.
yeah.
And they said that the mini games are going to consume
Oh,
way more
A
energy.
lot of energy.
Yeah, like
Way
a way more
okay,
energy.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Maybe it was for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that
look
they
look
probably-
at them thinking ahead.
I
Thinking
know.
ahead.
It's almost like they're trying to create content that all jives with each other. It's almost like they're talking to each other. That's weird. But like that, I think that they balanced that item around this new, like, because the idea I think is, one, they wanted to speed up life skilling. They feel like that if you want a life skill, part of the problem is you have to spend all day doing it. You have to spend all day gathering,
Yeah.
or all day cooking. And so they're trying to speed up gathering. Like the entire process of gathering is being completely sped up here, because you can spend all of your energy way faster. But for those players, this consumable is for those players that like to spend all day gathering, right? So they can still do that. But for players that just want to get it the fuck over with, which is the mass majority of the player base, so that they can go AFK on a utensil and watch The Office, like
Yeah.
they can do that now with these beautiful new mini games that they've created. I think that's super cool. It takes an aspect of life skilling out. It makes it a little less chill, but I like that. It's so much faster. As long as we're
Well,
speeding it up,
life
it's just so
skilling
much
still
faster.
exists too. Like, it's not. I don't know if you're going to be forced to do the mini games. So
I mean, you could
they
technically
may
just
be
X
that
out of them.
good.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
they said they're going to give you a large amount of stuff, so like there's really no reason to not do it.
The only thing I could think of is that it's comparable. Let's say you spend 50 energy and you get 50 items, right? So let's say that you could do normal gathering and you could get 55 items and 50 energy or something like that.
Like you expend more energy but less yield, but you expend everything faster, or
right.
you could do the long
so
route
you're
and get
you're
more
subtracting a
yield.
small
Yeah,
amount
so-
of your max for just getting it over with very quickly.
Right.
Whereas if you want to do the full day of life skilling, then you'll get more in the long run. But any life skilling buffs are good in my opinion in this game. NA does not have enough dedicated life skillers.
That's fair.
Yeah. One more crazy thing they're adding is this 1,000-year-old ginseng item,
Here it is.
which
That's
when
what I
consumed you get
see
a
it.
3-month buff. We don't know what the buff is yet, but I'm just speculating. Like when you think of ginseng, right? It's like this root that is usually for like body health or something.
Oh.
So I feel like it might be like a character stat increase. What I'm personally thinking, maybe it's like a plus 100 weight for 3 months is my sort of
Oh, no,
realistic
I think it's gonna be much
guess
stronger.
for what it would be. So do you guys have any ideas of what a 3-month buff would be for the game?
I think
I
it's going to be
have
much stronger than that. I think it's going to be
What's stronger than that?
They said, "Oh, there's a lot of stuff." Easy there, Jay. There's a lot of stuff they could give you for that. They said it's really rare, like rarer than a pure
Really
black
rare.
stone. Rare.
Oh.
So like that tells me that the buff that they're going to give you is significant. So they could give you like a 30% drop rate buff for 3 fucking months, for 3 straight months, right? Like. Make it like it's gonna be, if the way it looked like to us was that it's gonna be a significant buff. Now it could be what Jay said, it could be some weenie shit, but like I'm thinking that it's gonna
Surging
be
weenie elixir buff.
fuck that shit, bro. If it gives me 100 weight, I am gonna be so upset. I'm gonna be so upset. If it gave me 10,000
What about 1,000 weight? What about
no
1,000?
10. That move the decimal, Jay. Open your mind. Move the decimal over again. Like. Stop thinking so
10,000 weight
small.
for 3 months.
Yes. Now you don't have to deal with weight for the next 3 months. Is that the worst thing? Is that the worst thing? Be honest with yourself. Is it the worst
Actually,
thing?
that would be nice. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
They said it was going to be sellable in the market though, so I wonder like what kind of price it would be for a 3-month
Oh,
buff.
I mean, as rare as it is, this is like selling an Elton piece to the
Elton
player
piece.
market.
Ooh.
Or, okay, not an Elton piece. It's like selling
Consumable treasure,
It's
basically.
like it's like selling a pure blackstone to the
Pure
marketplace.
Blackstone on the
How much
market,
would you
oh.
buy a 250 AP 20-minute buff for? How much would you spend on that?
Yeah.
There isn't a number.
It's
I'm gonna
only
be honest.
30 minutes though.
I thought it was 20, but like,
Yeah.
is it?
Oh, was
is
it 20
30?
minutes?
I'm pretty sure it's 30. Last time I
Was
used
it?
one, it was 30. but they're ridiculously good. They literally solo. They
It
allow
is
you to
30.
solo
It is 30.
change a fight.
I think
So.
I think 20 bill at least.
Yeah,
I would buy that.
bill for
Yes.
wow. Okay.
Bro,
It's
that's-
just a completely like literally. Have you? This may be a little old, but I can remember getting. You'd go up against guilds in like T2 plus back in the day, and you'd have one guy that had the DP stone, which is like plus 500
Oh
DP
god.
for 30 minutes.
Yeah, like
And suddenly that guy is living in your base. You cannot kill him. He will live there forever for the next 30 minutes.
Soggy is having
So-
flashbacks to Nam when Corrupt fought Vertex 1v1 not too long ago. Not too long ago. This is
Yeah.
when Ace had just taken over, and they popped like 6 or 7 pure DR stones. And Vertex
Yeah.
was like, well, we won. I don't know what to tell you. It's too bad. They're like, choice is invincible. I don't understand. Like, it's impossible to fight it. So, like, I think if you're going to give people a big buff, like if you were going to sell pure Blackstone to the market, yeah, you got to make it incredibly expensive. But I think making consumables really expensive and really rare like this and really sought after is the correct way to approach end game like players. It keeps end game players playing the game essentially indefinitely without like, okay, I got my item now, I just have nothing to do. It's like, oh no, I got like I gotta go grind so that I can buy more of this buff, so I can put more pre-orders down on these buffs so that I can use these in PvP, right? Like I think it's good. I think having these diverse like consumables is a really good thing. Jay, are there any other consumables?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. There's actually you know the juices like what you get from Guild War, or Guild War shop.
You mean the Finto juices?
Yeah, the Finto juices essentially. So there's gonna be, it's not like new juices, but it does give you strength, health, and stamina. But these ones you can use up to level 40 instead of level 30.
Oh my
So
god.
I think that's gonna. It does have a 6-hour cooldown though, so I don't know how much XP you're gonna get, but that's definitely gonna help get players to that level 40 mark. I think level 40 is like the soft cap, and then after that it's like really hard to level up, right?
Yeah.
I think 30 is technically the soft cap, but yeah.
30
it
is the
gets much
soft
Oh,
harder.
is it
cap.
30?
Yeah, I think 40's like not
It starts
quite a hard
getting
cap, but it's
Really hard. No, 50 is the hard cap.
drastically slows down
Yeah.
after.
What are
40.
your breath levels, by the way? Like
On which
From-
characters? Like
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, I think my
I-
bout's like 32, but I don't know what my DK is
My-
off the top of my head.
my witch is actually level 43 breath, because I just run a lot on my witch because I had to put away my weapon all the time.
He's
You
not
gotta throw your
wrong.
weapon away and jog.
Yeah.
jokes
quick
on
trip
all
around
of
the
you.
park.
We've been running. We're track stars, bro. My witch,
I
my
was fucking marathon sprinters.
my
over here.
witch can absolutely squat like 1,000 pounds. Like that's how stacked she is. Okay, let me see. What is my breath level on my DK here? Crap, how do I check this, bro? I don't even remember how I check
P.
this.
P combat skills.
P battle stat. Oh, here we go. 41 breath on my DK, and
41,
I haven't
wow.
played her in literally 2.5 years,
Yep.
and she's at
Oh.
41. So like, yeah, I mean, like I'm just gonna say this on behalf of the rest of the server. Stop giving us juice, bro. We don't care. Bro, like give us other stuff, man. Like we don't want juice anymore. All right, okay. I just had to say it, right?
I had to
The
get that
rest
one
of the
out real quick.
consumables are super. The rest of the consumables are super fun, and super good. Tiltus, what do you think about the juice?
Juices, whatever. I had a guy
Exactly.
spend like
Like-
200 mil on juices like literally 2 days ago, and I was like, bruh, you just joined the guild like yesterday. What are you doing?
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate the contribution.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, Jay. What's the next consumable? Is that all?
Those are the only ones mentioned so far, but they did mention there's going to be new cron meals, elixirs, and perfumes, but we don't know what those are yet until it's released in Korea. I'm not sure if it's already out in Korea, but I don't think Tiltus wants to get spoiled on it. So
No, I don't
won't
care. I
look
don't
up
care
it.
about that kind of stuff. The only thing I care about is like the bosses.
Exploring,
And,
yeah.
like,
The boss
figuring those
content.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
interactive content. Yeah.
At this point, we don't know what the cron meals are, elixirs, or perfumes, but we'll see. I feel like, in terms of elixirs and perfumes, you kind of have the majority of like the stats that like the recent perfume you got was perfume of insight, which was an accuracy perfume. Odalita provided perfume of charm, which was an evasion perfume, and so I'm not too sure what else they could.
Yep. I
do
know
in terms
with
of perfume stats. So
Mountain,
kinds
you
of
got
stuff they can
the
do.
all special attack mod increase. What is it? 2%, 3%, something like that.
Yeah.
Lethal destructions, elixirs.
oh,
Yeah.
those elixirs. Yeah.
So those are nice.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing I kind of want to touch on is this crystal. Are you guys familiar with this, this new crystal that's coming out?
One's tier or something. That one.
Yeah. So this is an objectively better. It's what's on it. Everything. Yes. It's
everything.
faster to tell you what's not on this crystal. What do you guys think about making a crystal that is just literally the best? Yeah, you can only wear one of them, but it's the best crystal. What do you think?
I would be scared to break it. That's the only thing I would be concerned.
You're right. Yeah, the PvE Lord in the chat's like, no. Okay. Like, what do you think balance-wise?
Balance-wise, best in slot, obviously, but I don't think you can. I mean, stats are amazing, right? It has all the stats, and so you can't really. You kind of want this forever, and I don't know how renewable it would be. I do remember it was associated with a quest line, so maybe it's like a quest, so something similar to Rebellious. Rebellious you can only get through questing, so maybe it's something like that. And I would hate to redo quest lines just to get a new Bongwang's tier, so hopefully maybe it won't be breakable. But it is a crystal, so I don't know.
It's a double.
We'll see.
No, it's the thing with balancing it is like if everybody's running it, then it kind of balances itself almost.
But is it good though to introduce? So I like crystals because they introduce variety, and we touched on this before. I like variety and diversity in my build path, like artifacts, for example. I feel like, again, this is a step towards this. Okay, well, we're just gonna have everybody's gonna have the same crystal. Why redo the crystal system? Why would you redo all of this crystal system and then make a best in slot crystal? Like, and now you're trending towards this, like, okay, this is the best crystal that you can have. Like, period, dot. Like, I don't like anything that kind of forces me to build it. Right?
Yeah.
Also, it's terrifying to lose it. As an awakening witch that gets fed to mobs. Like, it's
so
terrifying.
You're gonna need that belt. Get out of those grabs.
I'm getting the belt.
Feed me. Try me.
So when I do read the description of Bongwang's tier, it says it's transfused into an exclusive slot. I do know that we're getting 2 additional total crystal slots in Mountains of Eternal Winter, and I don't know if Bongwang's tier goes into one of those, but it seems like from the description it's going to have its own exclusive slot. So maybe like it won't really touch the diversity part because we can use whatever crystals, and this is the only crystal that could go into that exclusive slot.
Be a stat boost.
So maybe it doesn't touch diversity at all, as you were touching on, right?
Yeah.
But again, it could break, and then you'd have to get another one. So.
Oh god. It's gonna break. It's gonna
break.
Say what every other crystal. It's gonna say what every other vague ass crystal in the game says. High chance of breaking. That's what it's gonna say. We don't know what the chance is. It's just 100%. Like, it's gonna break every time. I'm gonna be talking to chat, and I'm gonna lose 3 billion silver, and then for the next 10 hours at Ash Forest, I'm gonna be trying to make up the one death that went awry.
The one time you looked to your other monitor while you were standing in Olin's.
Brutal.
Another scary thing I noticed in the description is that there's no market price, which makes me think you have to quest for the item. And I know a lot of us have a lot of opinions and comments about questing, and so maybe we might have to quest for it again if we break it. So.
You have to. Oh no! No, God, please, no! No!
You're Michael Scott.
I don't want to quest, man.
That'll be interesting. I hope they don't quest lock it like that. It should be marketplaceable. I just think it gives players something to do in the new area. Yeah. Anything that you can do that gives players coming back for content and doing something is good. So if you can get this crystal through the new region and you can marketplace it, then that allows people to just keep getting the crystal.
Yeah. So I think all things said and done, the Land of the Morning Light is going to be a super exciting expansion for the PvE. I think it it has potential to be the best PvE expansion that we have ever seen. However, I don't know about you guys. I'm really skeptical about PA. Like, see, their first attempt at trying these bosses and stuff was Shirokon, and that sucked.
Yeah.
I think that they're gonna do a good job because they've had a long time to like figure out like what a good grind mechanic feels like. So like and they did a good job with the dungeon. So like I have faith, but like I'm also terrified. That this is it could be a little rough. Could be a little rocky. So overall, what are your thoughts on? Are you excited for Land of the Morning Light? Are you too hesitant on it? We'll start. It's going to be like closing-ish comments. Tiltus, let's start with you.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. We talked about this a little bit last week. I think the game is kind of transitioning more to have more PvE content, and it's putting more of a focus on that, which is probably the right step for BDO considering the PvP scene. I think focusing on what brings more players will be good, and it'll allow more players to get into the PvP scene. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun. I'm having to constantly change my mindset on BDO. It's no longer a strictly PvP game. Now it is turned into a PvX game, more or less. So I have to remind myself of that when I'm doing stuff in the game. I'm like, oh, I hate doing this. I'm like, wait, I'm doing this for other reasons. It's not just for PvP.
You telling me it's a sandbox after all this time I've been bamboozled? Are you kidding me right now?
I'm telling you, after 7 years, Blue, I finally figured out it's a sandbox.
He got there. It's all right. The bulb came on. It was flickering at the start, but we got there. All right, Jacob, final thoughts on this expansion. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this PvE focused expansion, and so I do hope that in future expansions we might get like global releases, because I do agree with Tiltus that some players won't like to spoil themselves and to have more fun with discovering new things, and it being out in Korea, unfortunately it will get spoiled. I mean, you could not spoil yourself, but I love spoiling myself, so I will spoil myself.
We literally run a podcast that talks about the big hat.
I do really like and want to experience a new expansion with everyone discovering everything globally. So maybe hopefully in the future expansions that might be that could be the case, but maybe perhaps not. But yeah, I'm hoping that this expansion, we can only hope. We can only breathe in our copium and hope. So
our hopium. Right, like
hopium,
okay. All right, I promise. Final question this time. Do you what global releases? Would you rather? Obviously, we're gonna say yes to this, but like, so the develop. You have to understand it from the developer's perspective. They have all this finished content. They're done with it from the Korean side of things, and they just want to get it out the door. They want to pump the content out the door. I personally like global releases because I feel like it forces them to get our expansion ready in a reasonable amount of freaking time. Odie took like, gosh, how long did it? It took 8 months. Extra months. We are talking about Land of the Morning Light. People are like, oh my God, Korea just got it. We're so close. Boys and girls, there are 100 minutes. Sweetie
My sweet
Pumpkin.
summer child.
There are 100 minutes of voice acting in the main storyline for this new expansion. They have to translate all of this stuff. It's more voice acting, more questing, more translating than has ever happened before. We're lucky to get this by August. I'm gonna go ahead and say August. Okay. I'm gonna say it August. Like, they don't want to tell us. You'll notice they've been very secretive. They're like, and the West will get it in the future. Like they don't soon TM. Like,
soon TM.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's scary. The fact that they don't actually have a close date for us tells me that's really scary. I would rather them hold off on KR because that's going to force them. They're going to be working around the clock, trying to translate it all to get it out faster for the rest of us. This way, the way they're releasing it now is really scary to me. I don't know if we might not get it by December. I'm saying August is generous, but we will see.
And also, a lot of players forget it's not just English that they're translating to; it's all these other languages too. I don't know how many BDO, how many languages BDO is localizing, but I think it's at least 10 different languages, and they got to do all the voice acting and all the, descriptions and quest logs. So, that's how long localization takes. So.
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm not.
Invest more into it.
Yeah, like they've got to be able to pump this out in a reasonable amount of time because they just hyped it all up. If it's not out by the next ball, we are going to be upset. Is the word I'm going to use?
We're sitting here talking about it right now.
Yeah,
like the hype is now, not in 8 months from now.
I was live in front of the stage when Jay promised me a new expansion. I could see the sweat on his brow when he said it to me. If I don't have it by the next ball, I am going to be upset. And so are a lot of other players that were promised. We're gonna start bitching immediately. Like we are, and we can. Boy, can we complain. Boy, can we complain as a community. Like I'm really nervous it's going to just take this forever, but we will see. Okay, anything last thoughts that you guys want to touch on before we wrap it up?
No, I think
I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean,
we've covered everything,
there was some life skill stuff that we didn't cover, but who cares about life skilling,
Whoa.
He's not
I mean,
wrong.
we can still touch on it. The life skill, there's mastery crystals, life skill XP crystals.
Okay,
so...
let's touch on it real quick. We have 4 minutes. Unpack it real quick.
4
We have
minutes.
4 minutes. Unpack it.
Yeah.
We started a little late.
I remember having this conversation with one of my friends how this would help players get to the 2000 mastery bracket, but also another thing is that my friend is like a hardcore life skiller, so he has like almost like 10 full Manos gear, and this doesn't really pertain to him, and he thinks that the mastery bracket should go over 2000. But I feel like not many people have over 2,000.
Chill. I personally feel like we should be able to hit 800 gear score as a player that's already 750. Like, wait, what? Like,
so he was really upset that these crystals came out because it doesn't pertain to him. But I feel like it pertains to a lot of other people.
For sure. I mean, here's the thing. NA specifically, I don't think EU has this problem. NA does not have enough life skillers. We just don't. So
Why do you feel
anything
that
that
way?
is going...
why do you feel that way? I'm curious.
Well, I know EU has stuff that just sits on the market, whereas NA does not. There are certain life skilling things, elixirs. I think Caphras sit on market.
Oh,
in EU.
that's because in North America, game knowledge is priceless, but for everything else, there's MasterCard. And like, okay. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But yeah, I just think anything that incentivizes more life skilling is good for the game, because I know, like, I enjoy life skilling. I spend like a couple hours on the weekend just doing life skills, and I always enjoy it. I played RuneScape for God knows how many years. I enjoy doing life skills, so anything that incentivizes life skills I think is good for the game, and it's good for the longevity of the game too. That's something that you can always just come back to and do.
Yeah. I think, I mean, life skilling it'll be fine. It's a PvE expansion. And I think that because the consumables are going to be really good, it's going to be life skilling really good. Like, you just, you're not, can't go wrong with this. Like, no kidding. So, okay. I think that is going to go ahead and wrap up episode 2 of the Old Moon podcast. Make sure that we're going to do our outros a little bit here. I am Blue Squadron. Make sure that you're following at least on Twitch, and then get up in the YouTube so that you can see it published to YouTube as well, because it will be published to YouTube if you missed the podcast at some point or if you missed the podcast on Tuesday, you can wake up in the morning and listen to it on your ride to work. That is the entire idea. Tiltus, you want to give yourself a shout out?
Yeah, I stream. I didn't stream last week because I had internet issues, but I'm back now. So I'll be streaming 6 days a week. I do shot calling like 3 of those days. I do PvP a lot, and I'm kind of diving into trying to learn every class in the game. So that'll be a fun escapade to take. So yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitch. I have a small YouTube channel that I'm trying to do some longer form content on, but I don't have anything really important out on there yet. So
okay. Jacob?
Hi, yes. So you can find me on twitch.tv/jaykunvt. That's JAYKUN. Sorry, VT, not TV. I made a mistake. But I stream a lot of PvE content. So dungeons, Oluns, Calphion Elvia, lower Gyphins, Uppies. So if you have any questions about PvE stuff, or Witch, Shy, and Wusa class stuff, you can ask me there. But yeah. Thank you guys
some
for
uppies in the chat
amazing
for
uppies in the chat.
Don't stop. You put the gun down. Put the gun down. Oh God. All right. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. That's gonna wrap up episode 2. We will see you guys all next week, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and bounce out of the voice call and do my outro. Thank you so much, guys, for coming to the podcast and putting it on. We'll see you guys next week. I'm looking forward to it.
See you guys. It was fun.
Yeah, see ya.
Adios.
Later.
Bye.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all the follows, guys. Thank you for all the new subscribers, or the returning subscribers, rather. Thank you for supporting my content. We now stream 4 days a week. Part-time streamer, by the way. 4 days a week. We got Monday, Old Moon Podcast. Saturday is typically Siege with enhancing, and then Sunday is a chill grind stream. So thank you guys for supporting me as always. This is going to be a wrap for the Old Moon Podcast. I will see you guys. I am in a Black Desert official event on Friday, so I will see you guys with Enclave. I'm not exactly sure what the details are. Make sure you guys join the Discord. Shut up, Lane. Make sure you guys join the Discord so you can see all the up-to-date events. We have 6 events in the next 7 days coming up. We're just going to start banging them out, so make sure you sign up and show that you're interested in those events so that I can keep doing events like this in the future. I love all of you. Have a great rest of your night.